Hello, everybody.
Hi. This is, we were just having a joke beforehand. This is our December update, our December backyard update.
A little chilly for me.
Well, it's a beautiful winter day. We will probably do our next update as a living room update indoors. Oh, look, there's the sun for a few minutes
Nice.
at least. We want to welcome you. This is crazy because a year ago, December, we didn't know what COVID was. We were getting ready for Matthew's wedding.
Yeah.
A year later, life has changed so much.
Yeah, it has changed quite a bit.
But in that time, we started our new project called No Harbor. We talked about that in our last video. So if you haven't watched our last video, it probably might be a good idea to watch that one before you watch this one. Correct?
Yeah. But we'll try to capsulize it just in case.
Yeah. So we're responding to the need that 64% of people who grew up in the church and now in their 20s
Yeah.
have left the church or their faith altogether. And sometimes we think, oh, these are just rebellious people who are rejecting God, but we don't believe that's completely the case.
Right. Yeah. In fact, there's so many people actually that fit into this category 20 somethings and 30 somethings where they have a lot of questions, they have doubts, but they don't really feel like they have a voice, a place to discuss and investigate and I guess really
Ask difficult questions.
to highlight their concerns and
Right.
have really an authentic conversation about their thoughts and feelings about Christianity and their walk and how it relates to everyday life.
So our logo, No Harbor's logo, we're going to get really fancy one of these days and use computer-generated graphics, but our logo, I want you to explain, hon, how this depicts the feelings so many have.
Well, I feel like it's so representative of the way, like I said, so many people feel in the church, especially younger people. The boat is spinning in this whirlpool, and it just connotes it's just some of the confusion.
Yeah, it's like no moorings and no safe place.
Yeah, no safe harbor.
Right. And so in response to this, we're really working with three groups of people. One is the disillusioned people who are still in the church. Also, there's people who have left the church altogether. And also we are working with church leaders who want to make some course corrections so we can better make disciples in a post-Christian generation.
Honestly, if 64% of millennials have left the church, that's we need to look as a church what we need to be doing differently.
Right.
And John and I have seen God use us and significantly in that demographic. So that's really what we're excited about moving forward with No Harbor.
And we have some real stories from real people who fit into this category. Mm-hmm. These are friends of ours, people who we are currently working with. And so I'm just to read a couple of their stories and maybe we can talk about them a little bit. So Eric says that when I came to Jesus as a teenager in an evangelical church, the acceptance of behaviors and teachings that were contrary to love the least were an embarrassment to me, and they kept me from sharing my faith with others and inviting them in. The cultural uniformity and support of public individuals that were the opposite of Jesus pushed me far from those Christians. When struggling with doubt, I had no one to go to. I often felt patronized by my leaders and often regretted interacting with them. I'm afraid I won't ever feel at home in a Christian group again. And we love Eric. We know Eric very well. And Eric loves Jesus.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and I just reading that again, even though I know his story, how sad that he doesn't feel like he has a place within the traditional evangelical church.
And he truly feels that, and again, we have to listen to what they are saying, right? He truly feels that being the evangelical church is pulling him away from his desire to love the least. And the questions that he has, he doesn't feel like he can ask those questions, without being patronized or dismissed.
And not only that, when you look at the life of Jesus, think about his interaction with people. Isn't that so much of what his ministry was? Touching and healing the sick, giving grace and worth to the marginalized.
Yeah. Right. And so, what's our response as a church? And we'll talk more about the course corrections we feel like we need to make in our next video. I want to read one more. Another category. So one category, like Eric, are people who are disenchanted. Another category are people who are minorities, people of color, second generation immigrants, women who feel that they don't have a place at the table in the church. So I want to read one. This was anonymous. This person we know, I'm going to just say they, so we don't give away their gender, because this person wants to stay anonymous. But here's how it reads. Growing up as a second generation American in an ethnically exclusive church, I often feel like I didn't belong. The fact that the services were mostly in my parents' language, which I couldn't understand, was part of the issue. What bothered me most, though, was the emphasis on legalism and the lack of authenticity in relationships. I felt like I had to check all the boxes and put on a show in order to gain acceptance from God and others. It was a stifling environment for me, and I eventually left to my parents' chagrin. This is a story of so many second generation immigrants who kind of feel stuck between two cultures, right? And many ethnically exclusive churches are more exclusive than just ethnically, right? And so it's a very difficult environment to be in for someone who's kind of stuck between two cultures, and sometimes they feel like they're betraying their heritage to leave.
Yeah,
and they're made to feel that way.
Yeah, and they also wonder if they're betraying their faith, which in the tradition that they were raised.
So often they are felt shamed for wanting to leave. You're rejecting your culture, you're rejecting your people. This person here actually wanted to just go to another church, but the difficulties. So this is another huge issue. And the last category are people who felt injured in the church. Maybe they've experienced abuse from the church, or they came to the church as an abuse survivor, and their church experience kind of made it more difficult to heal. For example, Sophie in the city, who's a good friend of ours, says this: shame was used in my childhood church community to change behavior. And it was even hard to escape from it once I began to recognize its toxicity. Outward behavior was treated as an indicator of holiness and love for God. I was shamed into believing that I didn't love God if I sinned, and it kept me in a cycle of self-condemnation. So, Hun, most people actually don't get to the point where Sophie actually recognizes the toxicity and the shame-based motivation, do they?
No, actually, they stay often in, or they leave, but they have that yoke, that weight of performance, and the hurt that comes from that, of feeling like I'm never measuring up, and then they translate that to their relationship with God and their relationship with other people. Right. I'm not measuring up. I am damaged, or
which is so antithetical to the gospel.
Yeah.
Right. So our desires come alongside people who are. Many of these people are still in the church or still in their faith, to walk alongside them, help them to process and answer questions. We'll talk more about strategy in later videos, and to really help the church to make the corrections they need to. We actually are working with some ethnically exclusive first generation immigrant churches that help them, and many of these church leaders actually want to make changes, but they also feel caught between the older generation and the younger generation. So we are excited about the work ahead of us, and we're just so grateful for your partnership to come alongside us as we launch No Harbor under the umbrella of Global Trade Network and the Eastern Regional Missionary Church.
We are really excited to walk alongside these individuals, alongside leaders, and help bring healing and transformation with the gospel.
Right, and your partnership really makes a difference in people who we feel like might otherwise just lose their faith altogether, and they just need some help and some encouragement, and some answers to some tough questions. So thank you so much for your partnership. We love and appreciate you all, and we wish your family just a happy and Merry Christmas, but we'll hopefully talk to you before then.
Yeah, most likely we will.
All right, love you guys.
Take care. Bye.